He pleaded guilty to an offence for having published information in the public interest, for which he's won journalism awards the world over and been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize every year for the past decade. This sets a dangerous precedent. This prosecution sets a dangerous precedent that should be of concern to journalists everywhere. The US is seeking to exercise extraterritorial jurisdiction over all of you without giving you constitutional free speech protections. And anyone who cares about free speech and democratic accountability should stand against it.
Let's further discuss this now with David Dunn. He's a professor of international politics at University of Birmingham, and he joins me now live from Birmingham in the United Kingdom. Thank you so much for being with us on the program, Professor. I first want to get your thoughts on how Assange got his freedom, because many supporters of him say the U.S. has essentially criminalized journalism.
Yeah, there's sort of three things that come together here, which was resulted in his release. The first, and perhaps the most important, is the pressure from the Australian government. The new Labour government there has made this a national quest. And Australia and America are becoming much closer allies. America's opened military bases there. There are plans for a big submarine deal there and other warships being based in Australia. So America is happy to give Australia what it wants in terms of that dimension to it. The second aspect, as we heard from your reports, Assange has been ill, lots of things wrong with him. So there's a humanitarian aspect to this as well. The idea that this guy has suffered enough. He spent 12 years in confinement in various forms, and therefore he has actually, in some ways, served time and actually had repercussions for his actions of the WikiLeaks dump of information on the internet. So there's that aspect. A third aspect is actually that America doesn't want to have the whole question of journalist rights and document release and the whole question of where those boundaries lie opened up at a time when that's a divisive issue within the Democratic Party as we head towards the presidential election. So America is keen to draw a line under it too, and actually take the win as it sees it of him pleading guilty to conspiracy and then move on from this.
How do you think his case has changed the way journalists work?
I think what Assange did by dumping all those documents on the internet was really the first mass dump of huge amount of data into the public realm, and that's largely what was controversial about it. On one hand, his supporters said that this was a great opportunity to see a huge amount of detail, how America conducts its business, and both diplomatic cables and indeed reports of action in Afghanistan and Iraq. The critics say that actually that was done in such a way that it endangered lives, and they point to the very different way in which the Guardian and the New York Times, Washington Post and others reported from that information, but in a very selective way in order to protect America's national security and indeed the lives of sources of that information that supplied the information. Of course, what's happened since then is the internet has become a very different place, and WikiLeaks now in 2024 is very different to WikiLeaks in 2010. Now it's much more a voice for conspiracy theories and indeed manipulation by the Russians and others.
All right, Professor David Dunn, thank you so much for being with us here on the NewsHour and sharing that insight with us. I appreciate it.